To Tarunayas. Today we will be discussing daily current affairs of 13th of December 2022, which has been taken from various newspapers such as The Hindu and The Indian Express. So let us see what we have in the news today. First, we have National Judicial Commission Bill, and the second news will be from the economy. I have taken the news today from the Indian Express, and the third news of the day will be the pharmaceutical pollution, and the fourth news of the day will be the stiff person syndrome. Now let us move on to the first news, and that is about the National Judicial Commission Bill of the year 2022. Now we know that for the first time the National Judicial Commission Bill, or the 99th Amendment of the Constitution in the year 2014, was passed by the Parliament to have a commission that would overlook the appointment of the judges in Supreme Court and High Court. However, a private member bill this year has been introduced by Bikesh Ranjan Bhattacharya, who is a member of CPI, that is Communist Party of India, from the Marxist faction, on Friday to regulate the appointment of judges to the High Court and the Supreme Court. Now let us see what this bill is about and how currently the judges are being appointed. Now basically the bill is going to regulate the transfer, and it is going to also lay down the judicial standards, and it would provide for the accountability of the judges to have a mechanism that will have the credibility and the transparency when it comes to the appointment of the judges, and it would also have a mechanism to look into the investigation with respect to the misbehavior or incapacity of the judges, that are the two important causes for the removal of the judges mentioned in the Constitution. So far, the Indian Constitution talks about the appointment of the judges by the President of India in Article 124 for Supreme Court and Article 217 for the High Court, and the appointment of the judges in the various subordinate courts such as District Court and the Session Courts. They are governed by the state governments along with the governor. However, at the Supreme Court level and the High Court level, there are two important articles that governs the appointment, is the Article 124 and Article 217. It states that President shall appoint the judges to the Supreme Court and High Court respectively after consultation with the Chief Justice of India and other senior most judges of the Supreme Court. That would be the four senior most judges. Now these five judges, including the Chief Justice of India, would form a collegium. Now this collegium decides upon the appointment of the judges. So basically India is that country in which judges appoint the judges. Now if we talk about the National Judicial Commission Bill, then it was for the first time established by the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act of the year 2014, and the act had proposed the members of NJAC, that is National Judicial Commission, would consist of members from legislative, judicial and the civil society. However, Supreme Court in the year 2015 by the majority of 4:1 had struck down the National Judicial Appointment Commission by stating that it is an infringement from the executive into the independence of the judiciary, which is also one of the directive principles of state policies under Article 50 that talks about the separation of executive and judiciary to have an independent judiciary in the country. Now let us move on to the next news from the economy. The news that I have taken is from Indian Express, and one of the news is from The Hindu as well. So let us talk about three news I would be discussing from economy. One is the net direct tax revenue, which according to the finance minister has increased over the last year, and if we do compare it with the pandemic years, and the imported coal, India has again increased the import of the coal, and because our energy intensity is growing and our energy dependent on coal is also growing, and at the same time India is also trying to switch to the more greener options with respect to the energy generation. And the third news from the economy will be about the industrial output, which is measured by IIP. Alright, Index of Industrial Production, which is released by NSO. So let us talk about the direct tax. Now what is direct tax? The direct tax means the incidence and impact of the tax is on the same person, whereas in indirect tax the incidence and the impact of the tax are on two different persons. The salesperson pass on the impact of the tax on the buyer, on the consumer. So therefore the incidence and the impact of the tax is different in case of the indirect tax. However, it is same in case of the direct tax. So direct tax in case of the central government government forms the major portion of the revenue. Most of it comes from the corporate tax, that is the tax which is levied on the big corporate houses, their annual profit earning, and the direct tax comes from the income tax as well, which is levied on the personal income of the person. So according to the finance minister, the direct tax has accelerated in growth to 24.3% by November. So this was about the direct tax. And if we do compare the central government's revenue and the state government's revenue, then state government mostly gains revenue via indirect taxes, and central government's major portion of the revenue is generated through the direct taxes. So year earlier, if we compare it with the previous year, then almost there is a 2/3 of the budget target. This constitutes almost the 24.3% in November, constitutes almost 2/3 of the budget targets of the financial year 2022 to 2023. And the net of refunds had also crossed rupees 7 lakh crore by September 17, so which is 23.3% higher than the 2021 to 22. But that growth slowed to 16.3% by October 8. So therefore, when the net collection stood at 7.45 lakh crore, so this was about the direct taxes. You can mention it in your mains examination if you are asked about the mobilization of the resources and Indian economy. Now let us talk about the imported coal. Now India has imported from April to September in the financial year of 2023, 131.92 million tons of coal worth rupees 2.3 lakh of crores. Now the import mainly consists of coking coal, and it also consists of the high grade coal. Now if we talk about the coal in India, then coal in India is not of a very high quality because it contains sulfur, and the anthracite coal availability is low in India. Therefore, mostly India relies on the import coal, and it mostly is the coking coal and the high grade coal which is used in the thermal power plant. Now, one of the major drawbacks of using the coal which has a high sulfur content and low carbon content is the residues which is generated in the thermal power plant, which is also known as the fly ash. So in order to reduce the fly ash, the coal is actually imported. The high grade coal is imported so as to have a low sulfur content and high carbon content, which has the high calorific value, so as to generate more energy per gram of coal or per kilogram of coal. This is what the purpose of importing the coal is, because of the low availability of the high grade coal or anthracite coal in India. In India, the coal that is mostly available is the lignite coal. So we have to understand, and for your mains examination purpose in the resource economy, so you have to understand where the coal is available in India and what is the percentage of the lignite coal or anthracite coal is available in India, what is bituminous coal, and what is the percentage of sulfur and carbon, etc., and hydrogen present in these type of coal, and which is the coal of the high grade quality. So it is the anthracite coal which contains the high carbon content, and it is of a very high grade quality. The coal formation basically started from the Carboniferous period, and this is exactly from where we traces the formation of the lignite coal, and the coal which is even more older than the Carboniferous period, then it would be the anthracite coal. And the coal is formed from peat, then it comes to the bituminous, then it is subbituminous, then it is lignite, and then we have anthracite. So the carbon content, as the moisture and the sulfur content reduces, the carbon content increases, and this process is known as the carbonification. So this was about the imported coal, and India again has imported coal. In the financial year of 18, it was 208, and then we imported even more in 2019, that was 235. In the year 2020, it was 248. So there is a progressive increase in the import of coal, and in the year 2021 it was 215. This was probably due to the post-pandemic effect, and again in the financial year 2022 we have 131 Basically the reliance on the coal has decreased. So basically if we see, then till 2019 the value, it was progressing 208 to 235 to 48, and then from 2021 onwards the value is decreasing. The reason basically could be that there could be two basic reasons. The first reason is probably the increase in the domestic production, or second reason, that most probable reason would be that India is transiting towards the cleaner source of the energy. So this was about the imported coal. Let us move on to the next news. The next news of the day is about the industrial output. Now, according to the IIP, which is the industrial Now, according to the IIP, which is Index of Industrial Production, released by NSO with 2011 and 12 as the base year, it says that the industrial output, it has contracted. That means there is a low industrial output, and it is second time in the 3 months. So shrinkage led by significant 5.6% drop in the manufacturing output, mineral growth and electricity contained. So if I speak of the IIP, then there are 8 core industries that forms approximately more than 45%, but less than 50%. It is somewhere around 48%, somewhere around 48 to 49%. So these are the 8 core industries that forms the major portion of the IIP. It consists, and it measures the manufacturing output. So as per the Index of Industrial Production, which stood at 129.6 in October, its lowest levels is September 2021, whereas the manufacturing output has also slipped to its lowest mark since June 2021. This is an indicative. So IIP is an indicative of the expansionist economy or contractionist economy. So right now, if we conclude from the IIP, then Indian economy is contracting. Let's move on to the next news of the day. Next news is about the pharmaceutical production. Now, there is one paper that was published in the journal Lancet, and it was about the pharmaceutical production. And according to the journal, this type of pollution is being overlooked. Now, what is this pharmaceutical production? Now, we consume the pharmaceuticals, that, for example, medicines. There are other pharmaceutical products such as syringes, etc., etc. Mostly it is medicine, syrup, cough syrups, etc., etc. The drugs, the medicinal drugs. So these drugs, when we consume, they get discharged in the process of consumption and production in the environment, and then it causes the pollution in environment, which is called as the pharmaceutical production. And now, what are the causes of the pharmaceutical production? It is about the drug, how we use it. It is ingested, and then it is expelled, and it is discharged from the healthcare institution, from the drug manufacturers, from agriculture and agro products, human domestic drug use, and the disposal behavior that we all have with respect to the disposal of the drugs. So this is because of this reason there is a increasing concentration of the pharmaceutical products in the environment. So that's why the pharmaceutical pollution was in news. Now let us move on to the next news of the day. The next news about the stiff person syndrome. Recently, the famous Hollywood singer Selena Dion, she was diagnosed with this syndrome. And let us see what this syndrome is basically about. Now, what happens? It is an autoimmune syndrome of the nervous system. So that means the body's own cell starts killing the body's own cell. Right. So this autoimmune disorder causes the stiffness of the legs and stiffness of the body near back and abdominal muscles to cause stiffness and spasm. Now, this basically affects the quality of life of a person who is suffering from the stiff person syndrome, and it affects the psychology of person. It causes stress, and it is high in women. And any person of any gender can get this syndrome. Earlier it was called as a stiff man syndrome, but later on, when it was started to be diagnosed in women, it was called as stiff person syndrome, to make it gender neutral. Thus, it can affect in the age group of 30 to 60 years, and it, especially in this age, the cause behind the stiff person syndrome is not very well understood. Still, the researchers are going on to understand what causes it, and what are the reasons behind it. If there is no research with respect to the reason and the causes of the stiff person syndrome, then of course there is a low availability of the treatment. Mostly the treatment relies on management of the stress and the management of the symptoms. So there is a symptomatic treatment which is given with the help of the symptomatic agents, and also immunomodulators are given so as to prevent the immune attack of the cell of the body cells by the immune cells. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching Tarun IS. I hope you understood all these news and you can really well relate it with your prelims examination and your mains examination. If you want to download the PDF of this session, you can go to our Telegram channel and the link will be given in the description below. Have a nice day.